Boom, we live. We live. Five alive. Anyway, so I've had a pretty peaceful day after reading that book. The only non-technical book in 30 years. And I read it all in one day. Just bang, read it. I actually finished the last chapter this morning when I first woke up, but pretty much all in one day. So, and yeah, that's in the middle of a conversation. So we have some gentlemen here. What the hell's his name? His site is Daily Dose of Wisdom with some apologetics.
Yeah.
I don't understand how these people think
Hello,
that
Dave.
they're fucking physicists or something.
So the host isn't in anything. He doesn't have any credentials. And the guest, of course, Stephen Meyer, he's just he's got a degree in philosophy of science, which I'm surprised they even let him have not. So he's not a scientist, right? He's not a physicist. He's not a cosmologist. He's not anything, right? He's not a scientist.
Yeah.
But it's as close as they can get to someone that has any credentials to back what he's saying. And he's just one of these nutters who is closely affiliated with the Creation Institute, and Ken Ham, and all them nutters. So he's always trying to find a way to delegitimize and misrepresent science as much as he can for his grift.
Yeah, and he's very full of himself. Believes that he's this great philosopher. And like, even great philosophers can, like people that are well educated in philosophy, can be so fucking biased and so illogical in their arguments.
Yeah.
And I call them philosophy-weenies because they think they've got some knockdown, like they have a paragraph or a syllogism or a bunch of words, and they think that they've solved the secret of the universe somehow with their words. They're that fucking brilliant, right?
You're right.
And what they lack is something called humility.
Yeah, they lack humility, and they've also got the Dunning-Kruger thing going on.
Yep. Yeah, and if they were to read the Bible a little bit, I think the Bible warns against that lack of humility in a number of different ways. And that seems to have gone right over their heads.
Yeah, it sure has.
Amazingly. But anyway, you want to give a listen to his opening?
Let's jump into it.
Okay, I think this is kind of the beginning of him.
Given that we have reality or existence, something must be eternal. And then it's the question of what is a more plausible eternal thing? Is it some form of energy or matter, or is it something outside of energy and matter? And I think what you're saying is that we have a tremendous amount of scientific evidence pointing to the fact that energy and matter had a beginning, which leads all the more so to the conclusion that whatever is that eternal thing that
is
wasn't
not the matter and energy.
Is not the matter and energy. So I was saying that.
Okay, so what do you think he's talking about? The Big Bang, and all the evidence that we have for the Big Bang?
Yeah, he's talking about all the energy that the universe consists of, our universe, all the time that's inherent to it, all the properties, all the energy, that it all started at some very finite, absolute beginning point. He's talking about the idea that the Big Bang, or rapid expansion, was either immediately at or immediately after the sudden creation of all things, all energy, all time, all everything. And so they're claiming that they've got a mountain of scientific evidence to say that that's the case. Everything had a beginning, therefore it needed something outside of all those things to start.
Yeah, something that wasn't space-time oriented happened, and physicists are looking at models for that. But when you get to that, you're not. When you get to that, you're working in abstract mathematics that is so abstract and so non-intuitive to us that we can't even talk about it. We could maybe write some equations about it, like string theory,
Mm-hmm.
with differential geometry and all that. But these tossers are going to suggest that it's mind God. Okay, it can't be matter and energy, so it's got to be something else, so it must be mind. So they automatically accept this thing, which I've been raving about for the last week or two on my channel,
Hmm.
that, dualism, that mind has to be fundamental. Otherwise, consciousness is some spirit thing. So they automatically assume that, and then they make their argument, okay? And that
Mm-hmm.
is not the way philosophy is done. That's not the way metaphysics is done.
No, and that's what gets me because Stephen Meyer has a degree in the philosophy of science,
Yep.
and he gets both the philosophy and the science wrong. And I'm like, who gave him a passing grade? Who gave him that certificate? Because he really needs to get his money back.
Yeah, well, he probably lied on his tests.
Sure, he did. They have to. They always have to. So, in the meantime, hello, Paraspera Ad Astra. It's great to see you here tonight.
And we have Captain Desk.
And Captive Desk Daves.
Yep.
And Leophilus. Leophilus.
Meyer's a terrible philosopher. Yeah, as will be evident here a little later. Here, I got another.
Yeah, Leo, if you want to jump on at some point, because this is more your wheelhouse than it is mine.
I could put a link out. I put the link out there.
I don't know if he wants to. I always hate saying that because I don't want to make people feel like they put on the spot to join.
Yeah.
Then if you don't say that, then maybe they did want to join. So.
Yeah, we'll see who wants to join. I sent Dave a link, and Scott automatically has a link. So anyway, okay, let's listen.
An eternal God as sort of your X plus whatever equals everything. There has to be that X at the beginning of the equation that is the uncaused eternal thing. So help me.
Yeah. I think your way of framing it is beautiful, because people will say,
so beautiful.
well, then who created the creator? If you posit a transcendent intelligence as the source of the universe. And you can say, of course, the exact same thing. Richard Dawkins wants to say that life emerged from a self-replicating molecule. Well, what where?
All right, so
Yeah,
a couple
what
things
the,
on
what the
this.
fuck? How did he end up over there at abiogenesis?
Right, they do this. They do this. That's part of their game,
Yeah.
where it's the peanut under the shell game, constantly moving back and forth.
Yeah.
One moment they're talking about this concept, and then automatically they're already talking about some other concept that has nothing at all to do with the thing they were
Right.
just talking about. And
Yeah.
their unsophisticated audience isn't going to notice the difference, right? They conflate these ideas all the time.
Yeah.
And they're not really putting this out there as a challenge to us, to scientists or to laymen. They're not really. It's all about keeping house internal to their grift. It's also, it's just for each other. It's just for their followers and for their culture. They don't care what scientists are saying. They don't care what laymen are saying. They don't care about what anybody is saying outside of their bubble, right? So they know that it's bullshit, but their people don't know it's bullshit, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, to even say that something is eternal is to automatically infer that time has always existed. If time in any concept at all, if time didn't exist until a God created time, that he can't have been eternal, because there was no before,
Right.
there was no time. Therefore, you can't place him on a timeline before time, right? You just can't do it. It's contradictory, and just all kinds of a mess, right?
That's what I mean by the mathematics involved in this. Whatever happened, you can't even say outside of where we are right now. Because if there are other universes outside, they would all be equidistant to us, all in the same place, because there is no concept of outside even. Okay, I mean, that's how fucking weird it is. And these guys, I mean, look at the smug looks on their face. Like, they look like two guys that have just strapped themselves to a Saturn rocket. And oh boy, I'm going to take a ride, and we're going to light it up, right? I mean, it's like you're looking at them from the outside of their ideas, right? And they look so smug.
Right.
And
So
it's
Leo
hilarious.
points out something doesn't need time to be eternal. Things can exist timelessly. Now, I'm not sure what he means by that. Leo does use language differently than I do. Right.
Well,
I'm just a layman talking in normal everyday parlance. And when Leo gets into the weeds, Leo's using very careful terminology, the way that it's supposed to be used within the context of that niche. Well, then I've got to translate it over to decide how much we're really agreeing or disagreeing about. But if we can say that time exists merely as an observation to say that things happen chronologically, one thing happens, and then after that another thing happens, right? Now people were deducing the idea of time before we had a way to measure it, before we had a way to study the science of it and notice its relationship to gravity, etc. Right? So there's this older idea of time that I'm referring to, that, but I also the newer idea of time. I don't see how this is the problem for me. If they're going to say that there's a time before time, I'd love to hear them explain what the hell that means. Right? That's them making the claim, and then it's me saying, I don't see how that's rational. Explain it to me. What do you mean? And they're never going to, right? They don't have anything particular that they mean by it. So if my understanding of sentience, of thinking, is that thoughts are events. They are microscopic, fleeting, momentary events that are rushing past. One happens, and then another happens, and another happens.
Yep.
So you need a before, you need something approximate to now, and you need an after for it to follow into.
Let's see.
Otherwise you're not having a sequence of thoughts.
Right.
Now, if we want to say that we can have a sequence of thoughts that happen one after the next in order, but then say time doesn't exist, it doesn't necessarily exist within the context of that happening, then it seems like we're playing definitional games with the idea of time to me.
Yep.
So go ahead.
Yeah, they're the like one way to do it is to look at if you look at time as another spatial dimension, right? Then you have something called block time, where everything all at once is there. Okay, there is no traveling through time. You're just traveling through space in that direction, right? So,
Yeah, Leo's offering to explain it if we wanted to.
so you got that whole thing. And so immediately you do away with the idea of time, and now we're thinking in terms of geometries, right? And there is something here, matter, energy, particles, whatever, okay? And presumably that something was always there, right? It is eternal. That stuff is eternal by itself, but not necessarily in the form that we, have it right now, because further along on the time dimension, okay, as we travel along on the time dimension, it kind of changes shape. And so we're out here where it has changed shape. But you can't then start talking about what happened before that, or positing that there has to be something that is not matter and energy and space, because all of that is all here all at once. And we're just looking at kind of a different form of it, right? And we don't know what else is out there. If we can see, we can't even say the word out there without getting into trouble. So that's where it gets down to pure mathematics. And these two, what do they call them, Podliwinks, are not going to figure this shit out. It's going to take some fucking unbelievable mathematicians and physicists to come up with the models that are going to explain all of that. We certainly aren't going to do it the way they're going to do it here in a short while. I'll send Leah. Oh, I don't have Scott with me, so okay. Should I roll it a while? I'm gonna be away for like 30 seconds to send Leo a link.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Where did the replicator
Right.
come from? And
Right.
here's the point: every system of thought has to posit something as a primitive, as the thing from which everything else came. Because one of the great axioms of logic is that from nothing, nothing comes. Nothing comes from nothing. Nothing ever could. I think it was in The Sound of Music, so it must be true,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But no, I mean, this is so. And people logically, if there was a genuine nothing, you're not going to get anything from that. So there had to be a something that was the thing from which everything else came, and the
Okay, right there they're off track because he's talking about causality, which happens on that timeline. You know, causality, like if you look at four-dimensional space-time where everything all at once is there, then he's saying that he's still talking within that model, within that four-dimensional model. Okay? So he's still talking as if talking according to what our intuition matches, right? There has to be something outside of time that was before time that caused time. No, it couldn't have caused time because causality is what we glean from the conjunction of two things next to each other on that time dimension.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
not sure what it would mean to have causality without time, but maybe
Yeah.
Leo could explain that to me.
Well, causality without time, yeah, there wouldn't be causality without time. We're looking at something weirder yet, which, of course, God of the Gaps is going to come in here in a minute. So,
options that have been presented are the options of the great worldviews. Materialism says it was matter and energy. Pantheism says
wait a minute. What? No, it doesn't. I don't know where he gets that.
it was an impersonal God. Deism said it was a God who acted at the beginning but has had nothing to do with the universe since. Theism said it was a personal God who acted at the beginning and who has continued to be involved with the creation that he made. So
right there, they're doing an either or. Either it's just matter and energy. Matter and energy came from nothing is what I think he's suggesting, or it had to be some variety of a God. And all three varieties of a God, like what are you talking about with a God? They're talking about mentals. It has to be a mental, right? So automatically they're bringing their dualism into it, which is their belief from the get-go, and they haven't shown dualism to be true. They haven't shown mental stuff to be foundational in the universe. So none of those three God ideas that he recommended are even something we should be talking about. Go ahead, Leo. Leo.
Go ahead with what?
Oh, you
Was
were
I
gonna
expected
talk
to say
about,
something specifically?
yeah, maybe talk about block time, or the idea of this whole idea of something causing, basically something causing space and time itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I
I
don't
mean,
think it would make much sense to most physicists or philosophers of physics
right?
who are interested in things like that.
Yeah, because it's something different than that. You have to have a different model to explain this thing. Like,
I don't know what a model song space-time would even be. Because when people talk about before or outside of space-time,
yeah,
all I hear is north of the North Pole.
right.
It's incoherent.
Yeah. Well, they do have some ideas. Like there's this one idea that, like, if you imagine a cylinder and all of the matter and particles are on the edges of the cylinder, and that they somehow seem to project those dimensions, those spatial dimensions, because of the nature of the particles themselves, basically.
So like a gauge gravity duality.
I'm not sure about it because I don't know what that is, but
That sounds like something like an ADS-CFT correspondence.
holographic universe, I think it's what they call it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That, the space-time arises from that. Like, if
I'm
you
not sure
do,
how much confidence I place in those kinds of models, but they are interesting.
yeah, they would, but when you get to that level, any model that describes it is almost going to be as valid as the next, as long as it can describe it, because there is no concept of causality and happening. I mean, it isn't like these particles are causing space-time to happen. They're just their space-time is a way of looking at them. Just another perspective, right? A way for us to look at them. Being the creature we are, we're pretty much stuck with this space-time bullshit. Kind of hard to get out of it.
And causality is ultimately a but, because they're going to say everything has to be created or have a cause,
Right.
but God.
Well, he says something even stupider here about epistemology in a little while.
So
Listen.
you have those are
You want to talk, Leo?
Well, one thing I did want to say is that the idea that out of nothing, nothing comes, ex nihilo nihil fit, is not a logical axiom at all. If anything, it would be something like a metaphysical principle, but then there might even be some who wouldn't consider it to be a principle, just an idea.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not much for metaphysics, because metaphysics is just basically making up a model that is intuitively palatable to us.
No. Metaphysicians are perfectly fine exploring the unintuitive. Most of them do that every day.
Real ones, yeah. But this I don't think you would call real metaphysics.
I wouldn't call it metaphysics at all. Or at any rate, very, very bad metaphysics. That
Very
isn't.
bad
That is more of an attempt at just propping up theology or theological ideas rather than actually trying to rigorously do metaphysics.
Can we agree to call it naive metaphysics?
I would just call it naive.
Okay.
I think that's pretty generous, because I think naive implies that they don't know that they're pulling a graft.
Oh, okay.
Well, you never know, man. It's for me. It's hard to figure out who's genuine and who's not.
It is. Well,
Yeah, I get that. I'm just not so generous as I used to be. You know, if somebody's new to the apologetic scene and they're saying this kind of stuff, I figure they're repeating it for somebody they heard it from. It sounds legitimate to them. That's why they're repeating it. But if somebody's been in this arena with the game for many, many years, and they've heard everything that Sean Carroll and Alan Guth and Leophilus has to say about it, and they're still saying this as if they've been unchallenged on these points,
Yep.
it gets harder and harder for me to give them the benefit of the doubt that they just don't know any better.
Yeah. The thing is that they're already absolutely believe in the Bible, right? So they have that belief. And they're never challenged to think about that belief. They bring that belief everywhere they go. And they always talk about, oh, if you have a worldview, you're going to look at the evidence differently. Well, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're applying this one worldview that they pulled out of their asses or out of that book, 2,000-year-old book. And you're not going to budge them on this shit until they start looking at that worldview, until they let go of it a little bit. And it's really difficult, but they make a shortcut in their brain, so everything has to be colored with God. And then they use that coloring that they have a color crane set. They have a God color crane set. And that's all they've got in their toolbox. That's it.
Somebody
And so
needs to get me a
everything's gonna be-
discussion with I should say Dr. Meyer.
What's that?
Said somebody needs to get me a discussion with Dr. Meyer here.
Oh, I think
I would love to have a discussion with him on philosophy, science, and God.
He might be accessible. So your debate is coming up with you're actually debating Eric Hernandez on the soul, or on what?
That's one of the debates that I'm having, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one, because Eric Hernandez, oh my God, his T-jump debate was so bad. And he did that about 4 years ago or something, but he's going to come at you with all that bullshit.
I know.
Yep. And I got his book here, Body and Soul. His mentor is J.P. Moreland.
I was going to say, that's not the title of his book unless he's written a book before the one that I know about.
J.P. Moreland, Body and Soul?
No, you said his book.
Oh, no. J.P. Moreland wrote Body and Soul, and Eric Hernandez, that book is his go-to for philosophy. Everything that Eric Hernandez says came out of that book, Body and Soul. So it's really sad. And Eric Hernandez doesn't understand it even as well as J.P. Moreland does. J.P. Moreland makes moral arguments in that book that are over and above any reasoned logical arguments. That's most of the book, but there's a few chapters where J.P. Moreland lays out ideas of the soul, and Eric Hernandez sounds like a parrot, just parroting J.P. Moreland. Anyway, I think I
I'm
have,
sure there's times I've sounded like I'm parroting Sean Carroll.
yeah, I have a copy of that book I could make available to you, Leo.
I'm probably not going to read that before going into the debate. I already have a book that I have to read before my debate with Destiny. So,
Okay.
I mean, that
debating-
book's only 70 pages long, but
You're debating Destiny on like communism or something, right?
no.
On what?
Socialism versus capitalism.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That should be a hot one.
Wait, which side are you taking, Leo?
What side do you think?
Socialism.
Leo. I don't know. Iowa is a pretty fucking conservative place these days. I don't know how
course
you
it
live
is.
down there.
Because I don't have a choice. You going to pay for me to move someplace else?
I don't know. You should go hide in the corn.
Massachusetts isn't cheap. Of course, if I really had it my way, I would move out of the United States of America altogether.
Yeah, so would I.
I'd move to Canada.
I'd move to Oxfordshire, England, in a nice house out in the country, study up for a year or two, and then at least attempt to get admitted to Oxford.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't stand the tea.
The what? Don't fucking drink it then.
The tea. Tea? Tea? Like, fuck you, tea.
So we've got Otangelo in the house for anybody that hasn't noticed.
I know we got it. Yeah.
That's great for him. Nobody wants to talk to him because he still just runs the same exact arguments in the same ways, and it's boring.
Yep, he does. Okay, let's see if we can get to the part about epistemology. Let me take a look at my bookmarks. 606 is where I think he does the thing about epistemology, which I thought was just precious.
4 great worldviews. Which of them is true? Which one best fits the evidence? That is
God, 4 great worldviews. Materialism, and then he's got 3 God views. Like, I don't think those
Wait,
things-
what's the list of the 4 again?
Pantheism, deism, which is, the God who doesn't give a fuck anymore, and then their God that gives a fuck.
Theism.
So, yeah, so give a fuck
And
theism.
then naturalism.
Yeah, and then naturalism.
So this brings to mind Majesty of Reason's new video. Have you seen that, Leo?
No.
The one that don't make these mistakes or whatever?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, it's
I don't make mistakes. Yes, I do all the time.
sure.
Majesty of
No, I
Reason?
haven't. Yeah, Joe Schmid? You don't know Joe Schmid?
No.
You don't know Joe? Then you don't know Jack.
Don't know Joe. I don't know Jack.
I linked it in our messaging thing that we do through the phones. Like I linked it like a week ago or whenever it came out.
Did you? So I must be subscribed. Am I subscribed? No.
Majesty.
God damn.
Well,
son.
it's a heavy philosophy channel. That's probably why you're not subscribed.
I'm subscribed to almost every heavy philosophy channel there is.
Like,
Fuck, you want me to go through them?
are you subscribed to Lance Independent?
Probably. I don't know.
I am.
I don't
What
know.
about Ask Yourself?
Yes. Lance Independent. I think I got that one too. There's a lot of philosophy
Are
channels.
you subscribed to Phil Talk?
Yeah, I am, but I don't want to admit it out loud. Well, I'm subscribed to Majesty of Reason. What the fuck?
You need to hit that black bell, man.
I don't know. What was the other one you mentioned? Lance?
Yeah, Lance Independent. That's Lance Bush. That's his channel.
Yeah, you know Lance, Mike. He was in the bread group with us.
Okay.
He's got
Oh,
a
yeah.
Bald guy, glasses.
shaved head. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Oh, Lance, yeah. Fuck.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, didn't I have him on the channel once? I did.
I think so.
Yeah.
Lance
well,
is
yeah.
just fun to listen to,
Yeah.
at least for me.
Yep. Okay. Let's listen to these guys for a moment. His 4 great worldviews.
is the subject of my latest book, Return of the God Hypothesis. And I make the same argument you do, that everything has to be, every system of thought has to posit something as the thing from which everything else came, the eternal self-existent thing, and material.
Does it? Really?
Well,
You
and I
want to know
gotta
how I
ask,
know
am I the
Go
only
ahead,
one that
Dave.
thinks this guy could be Gallagher's brother?
which guy
Oh
on
yes,
the left?
definitely.
Yeah.
On the left. Yeah, his little brother.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say something too, because I don't. What the fuck is this guy wearing?
Yeah,
He needs a little hairpiece hanging out the back, and
But what I wanted to
it would
say
be
is,
amusing.
you want to know how you can tell all these theologians and apologists don't really keep up on their philosophy?
Hmm.
Because they consistently refer to it as materialism and not naturalism. It's fucking naturalism, not
Yeah.
materialism. Materialism is like a 200 years old word. It's not used anymore. But they also use it as sort of a sleight of hand, if you know what I mean?
Right.
Where they try to make it sound like everything is material rather than that everything is natural, which
Yeah.
the latter, at least in my mind, does sound a little bit more like amenable than everything is material. So
Yeah, and
there's also somewhat of a sleight of hand behind it, or a sort of a rhetorical tactic.
some of them will actually come back at you with the gotcha that, oh no, then there's energy, not just matter. And
Yep.
the materialism in the 1950s and the 60s meant greed, capitalism and greed. That's what materialism meant. It did not mean a metaphysical worldview at all. So that's what they're doing, is they're borrowing from that. They're basically coloring it that way with that bad word, materialism. So
Every time I hear one of them say it, I'm like, oh, we're talking about Marx now?
yeah,
Just to piss them off.
yep,
Nice.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna play.
Think, which was assumed to be the best answer coming into the early 20th century, has been shown by successive scientific discoveries to not provide the best explanation, to not invoke an entity which is a plausible primitive, the thing from which everything else came, because matter and energy, as best we can tell, had a beginning. They are contingent things
Probably
on
not, but
something else.
maybe. Also, like, he's just completely flat fucking wrong. Naturalism or physicalism or materialism, whatever you want to call it, is the running standard in science broadly and in philosophy broadly, in metaphysics. Like, most philosophers don't think or treat the world. This isn't to say that all of them are naturalists. Some of them are non-physicalists, non-naturalists, but still, they don't treat the world as if magic is real and angels and devils and demons and spirits and ghosts and gods and all this other stuff are a part of reality or have any sort of effect on it whatsoever. They just don't.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's actually been that way for quite some time. Like,
Beginning of the 20th.
philosophy's the realm where religion went to die. Like, that's
Yeah.
They went there to hide, and they went there to die instead. I love it. But yeah, even the theists that are scientists, the Christians that are scientists, are
when
shaking
they
their
do
head.
science.
Yeah.
Okay. Play.
Some other type of cause which transcends the domains of matter, space, time, and energy.
That's beautiful. Okay, so I'm not crazy.
Beautiful.
Good. That's great.
And no, and conversely, if you
I heard
posit
Leo
the
sigh.
existence of a transcendent,
Don't
beyond
pause. Do not pause.
beyond space-time entity who is personal and intelligent and powerful, then you can provide an adequate explanation for what we see.
Yeah, you can make up a story that there's a big personal intelligent human and he's got a little box and it, like what the fuck was that film where the entire universe was in this crystal at the end of it, the alien
Oh,
one?
Men in Black.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you can posit that there's some super intelligent thing above holding the little Earth, right, and tweaking it. But that's just fucking made up story. It has nothing to do with metaphysics and philosophy. Like, he just does it so easily without any warning.
It's so fucking fun. This is why, like, somebody like me or like Detroyer or even Joe Schmidt, and maybe he has, I don't know, really needs to have a talk with Stephen Meyer. So many people, even people who are relatively, philosophically adept, let him fucking slide on so many things. Either half the shit he says, I'd just be like, no, I'm sorry, that's just not at all correct. Like when he said that materialism has sort of died off as the sort of standard, I would have straight up been like, no, I'm sorry, Stephen, that's just, I'm sorry, that's just not correct. You can see all across the philosophical literature, going back at least a century, that most philosophers are approaching the world, even if they themselves are not physicalists or not naturalists, because many philosophers aren't, they're not approaching the world as if divine or spiritual or even necessarily supernatural things are a part of it. They're just not.
Yeah, and he actually said that science has proved that materialism is false. So, like, with what?
It's so funny how science, which I don't care who you are, it is thoroughly physicalist. That's the perspective, and that this isn't to say that physicalism is the correct view. It's just to say that science works from a physicalist perspective. So I don't understand how it could show that wrong. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me.
Nope.
Yeah, but maybe I'm missing something. Who knows?
Well, that was where Bernardo Kastrup was talking to that philosopher of science.
Tim Maudlin. You want to know what I watched that. You want to know what happened in that discussion?
What's that?
Bernardo ran from Tim. Like, it's so obvious that Bernardo ran from Tim. Like, he knew this was a battle he was not going to win.
Yep. Yeah, because he threw as many shitty words at that guy as all he did was said that's silly.
Yeah. And think about it.
Yeah.
If first off, you have to know Tim. Tim will kind of, Tim is not afraid to call a spade a spade,
Yep.
If something's silly to him, he's going to be like, I'm sorry, that's just kind of silly to me. And the reason why I think it's silly, and then he explains himself. If you are truly confident in your ideas, in your worldview, like I would imagine Bernardo would at least claim that he is, then he should have come back when Tim was done and said, well, I really don't think this is silly. And just here's a couple reasons why I think that my ideas should be taken seriously. He didn't do that. He had a fucking meltdown.
Yep. Yeah, I hear he does that a lot on conversations with him, backroom conversations with him. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I am going to get taken off here. I got to get ready for a potty.
Okay, well, I don't want to ask. Okay, thank you, Leo.
I think you say
don't want to ask what? No, you got to ask now.
I don't know what a potty is.
I'm not
potty.
I don't want to know.
Have you never been to the East Coast?
Nope.
Do you know what khakis are?
What are khakis?
Yeah, khakis.
Car
Yeah, to start your care. Do you know what a pot of coffee is? But you don't know what a potty is.
I don't know any of these things.
Do you know what a hot dog is?
Nope.
Huh? All right, I'm out of here, guys.
Goodbye.
Peace out.
Oh, that was very threatening from Leo. Very threatening. Speaking in tongues to me. Okay.
Very threatening. So we've a little bit late on this. We got What the Beck is in here tonight, along with Bree from Hive Science, Maya Adkison,
Yep.
and
Maya's here.
who else?
My
Did I
bar
miss
was
anybody?
lowered after watching Grayson's debate today. Grayson had a debate.
Mandible's here.
He premiered a
Chris?
debate he already had
Into Chorus.
Okay. Oh.
with a flatzoid.
Oh no, flatzoids. Oh.
They were arguing gravity. I watched it for a little bit, and then
I can't
was like,
fucking deal with
well,
them.
I've had enough. Yeah.
I don't give a shit about flat earthers. I mean, they're just like creationists, except
Worse.
they're crazier.
Man, I meant to ask for Otangelo's help when he was still here.
Ken Ham mocks flat earthers, and that's like when Pat Robertson mocked Ken Ham. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I don't know how much lower you can get in flat earthers. What in the fuck?
Mud fossils. Where's Maya's out there? Mud fossils are the bottom. They are definitely
mud fossil is the bottom. Yeah. Oh, he launches a video every time James Webb comes up with something. He's got like video after video going on. That mud fossil guy
with everything zoomed in and out of focus. And
oh man, he is something else.
Look at these. There's 4 pixels here out of place.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna use that flat Earth stuff and that mud fossil stuff the next time I get pulled over by a state trooper. I'm just gonna start talking to him about that stuff, and I'm pretty sure he'll just say, "Okay, sir, just be more careful. Get out of here. Go away, go away." We'll see how it works. I might get arrested. Who knows? Okay, play. Play 'em.
And there's a mode of reasoning used in science and philosophy. It was used by Darwin. It's called inference to the best explanation, where you posit that entity, which, if true, would best explain the evidence. And so I like to make the cosmological argument as an inference to the best explanation, not trying to prove definitively that the cause must have these particular attributes, but rather positing the type of cause with a set of attributes which would be sufficient to explain what we see. And it turns out that when you do that, when you engage in that intellectual exercise, the type of attributes that the cause must possess to provide an adequate explanation are precisely the attributes that, say, Jews and Christians have long ascribed to a theistic God, a God who transcends the universe, who is separate from it, but who is also active in it.
Yeah, so inference to the best explanation. So let me see. Okay, we find that we are organisms on this little speck of dust in the middle of the cosmos, and we haven't found any other organisms that have anything resembling a body and mind anywhere, ever. And so we assume, so we think that whatever is outside or beyond space, time, and matter and the cosmos created the whole fucking thing, and it just happens to be just like us. How in the fuck is that an inference to the best explanation? I mean, it's like, God.
Well, he also left Islam out, and the Islamic apologists.
Yeah.
They use the same exact arguments. So
They don't want to talk about it.
Conveniently, he doesn't mention Islam though.
They don't want to talk about it because it just so happens to be the largest portion of the population on Earth and growing faster than Christianity. Anyway, they don't want to talk about
nipping at their heels.
Yep. Yeah. That would be like me saying that Mike Brusnak, I'm the one that created all of you. Basically, obviously, inference to the best explanation. I created you guys. How the fuck does that work?
We all know it was Bigfoot. I've been arguing it for years.
Bigfoot created everybody?
Yeah. Any arguments for God, if you can replace the word God with Bigfoot, or DM would stick lobster in there, and if it sounds silly, then you've got to think about it seriously when you put the God word back in.
Yep. Okay, we're coming up on his epistemology.
I want to transition into fine tuning, but I have to say something on that point really quick.
Fuck you.
You brought up the Rosetta Stone, and I have often thought about describing God as a type of Rosetta Stone that once you can see his explanatory power for not only the creation of the universe, but also the existence of human rights, the reality of beauty, the intelligibility of the universe itself, et cetera, et cetera. You can go through
beautifully stated, right? Our ability to know. This was the argument that convinced me of theism, was the argument from epistemological necessity. And in a conversation with Thomas Nagel one time over lunch, he asked me how I had become a theist and a Christian. I started to explain the argument to him, and the idea that theism uniquely underwrites our confidence in the reliability of the human mind, and therefore our ability to know the world. And as I got halfway into it, he said, no, you don't need to explain this to me. He said, there's no question, said the great atheist philosopher, he said, there's no question that theism solves a lot of philosophical problems.
Nagel is the guy that came up with what it's like to be a bat. And, I don't know. I'm not sure where Nagel is today, but I hope he isn't still spouting the same bullshit he spouted back then. But it sounds like he may be. I'm not sure. But anyway, so the ability to know, so God underpins and explains all of that. Have you ever heard of fucking neuroscience? Have you ever heard of cognitive neuroscience? And I mean, all of the stuff that we know about our ability to know, epistemology needs to go the fuck away as a type of philosophy, and they just need to get out the neuroscience book and stick with that because that's how we know what we know. Epistemology will go on about the different kinds of knowledge. Well, we fucking know how that works in the brain. We know how the different kinds of knowledge are acquired by the baby, zygote, early organism. We know a lot about that, and we know everything we know to render epistemology completely simply and easily understood and explained in terms of us as a biological organism. And he wants to say that, oh, we need this underpinning for epistemology because he doesn't know jack shit about neuroscience. Anyway, I haven't got any further in the video, so it's all
Yeah,
going to be
I
true.
mean, it makes sense. When you don't understand science, magic absolutely is the best available
Yep, it
explanation.
is, yeah. It's like, how could we know stuff? Oh, and how do we create a foundation for our knowledge and all of this bullshit, bullshit, bullshit? When we have fucking just tens and hundreds of thousands of scientific papers on how we come to know things and how babies come to know things, how they understand that there's another, that this cup here has a back and a front, and how you can hide stuff behind it and all of that stuff. I mean, how you can ride a bicycle, how you breathe, all of that shit. Knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. We don't need no stinking philosopher weenie epistemology. Fucking stop it.
Well, I keep hearing Frank Turek from both of them. So if
Yeah.
they're getting their info from I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, that's pretty laughable because either him or they have a common denominator that started it, but they're saying a lot of the same things.
Yeah, you got this eager little chipmunk, little Gallagher-looking motherfucker on the left, who's just chattering with
He does. He's got the eyes close together, the thin face. He's got it all going there.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
and-
Gallagher and Tom Selleck had a love child.
Yeah, there you go. And Steve Meyer is throwing him acorns, and he wants to get into fine tuning. When he gets into fine tuning, can we please stop watching?
And Leo likes to, he said, cite Sean Carroll. Sean Carroll says, fine tuning is the best argument theists have. It's also a terrible argument.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You want to shout out real quick to Logan Fisher, who's here with us today.
Hey,
Hey,
Logan.
Logan.
Yeah, and Paraspera had Astros quoting, I think, a stream I did earlier about the hide and seek that Yahweh does, and asking if Bigfoot plays that same game.
Yeah, see, I prefer Bigfoot at this point. See, all hail Bigfoot.
Yep.
The world would be so much better if people just believed in Bigfoot and didn't pursue it or anything and just left it alone. And
I agree, but you can't take it too far. No, my ex left me well, I shouldn't say left me. I broke up with her, but she got with this real good, great, wonderful guy who kept a loaded gun with him at all times when he went camping, and he went camping often. His explanation for this is that not only is Bigfoot real, but is stalking him personally.
Oh,
And
no.
one of these days, Bigfoot's going to show up. He's out there somewhere. He can feel it, and he's going to be ready. And I just thought, at first I thought she was kidding when she told me that. And then when I realized she was serious, I'm like, man, please get that guy some help.
oh, trust me, that is not uncommon with all the Bigfoot stuff I do and everything. Some of the folks are very serious about their Bigfooting. But
Wow. Yeah, I think you can take
really
anything.
though, I don't think they've hurt anybody. So we'll let it go for now. But yeah, if they hurt somebody, I'm going to have an issue.
You see this? Logan Fisher, science uncovers truth. Mandible, no, science does not uncover truth. Fight.
And
Fine.
did you hear Bree's new cause?
No.
Bree's trying to take up the cause that we need to pass laws to govern Bigfoot wrestling, because as it is right now, there's no laws and people can fight their Bigfoots.
No shit. There's no protection for Bigfoot.
There's none at all. So
Oh my god.
we've got to do something about this.
We
So
do.
Bree's leading the charge.
Did you see Barbie? The Barbie.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't.
No, I
Am
didn't.
I
I
missing
didn't see
anything?
the movie. No.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if I can.
I saw Greg Locke smash a Barbie dream house.
Oh, who's the dude that started as Ken and Barbie? The Ken Barbie guy.
Totally out of my realm.
I
Sorry.
totally don't remember actors ever for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just don't remember them. But
So we got Brad Astor with a quote from C.S. Lewis there. If we find ourselves with a desire that nothing in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that we were made for Bigfoot's world.
See, I've been saying this for years. So is Bree. Just got to listen. Gosh.
Ryan Gosling.
Stephanie
Hey,
Helms is
Stephanie.
here with us too now and says yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes, says Stephanie.
Oh, hang on a second here. So this is Ryan Gosling. I don't know if this really happened or not, if this is just some lore from Hollywood. But he sent this picture to the director of the Barbie movie. And he said, I shall be your Ken, for his story must be told. It's just fucking excellent. Anyway, I saw the movie last night and I was just absolutely amazed with it. And the conservatives, they were losing, like fucking Paul and Morgan lost their shit over this movie. And I'm like, what did you have a problem with?
When Ken is away, Barbie and G.I. Joe will play.
Yeah, there you go.
The great American hero. G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
I still have my Joes. I've got two of them. I think the third one fell apart. But I've got the pieces. But I've still got my 12-inch Joes from way back in the day.
I'm gonna go buy some Barbies after watching that movie.
12-inch Joe. I'm pretty sure that's the guy my last ex left me for. 12-inch Joe.
There's more than one reason he's interested in Bigfoot. You know what they say about big feet.
Yeah, I know what they say. I always include my shoe size in my dating profiles.
When I wanted
42s.
when I wanted to break up with my ex, she was working at a clinic, and I was hoping that she was having an affair with a doctor, because I wanted her to go off, and I didn't want to feel guilty. And instead, she ended up with a guy who never had a job. He had a motorcycle. He was just a total fucking asshole. And I was just, oh my God, talk about
the bad boys.
Yeah, the bad boy. She wanted a bad boy. Anyway, he'd keep a job for about 3 weeks, and they'd start a fight with the boss, and he'd be unemployed. And of course, he got arrested for beating her up, and oh my God, it was just fucking horrible. She just jumped right out of the frying pan into the fire. And as an alcoholic, I was a frying pan, but actually I wasn't drinking when I broke up with her. I broke up with her because she was doing drugs and I was sober. So, anyway, life. I still love her. She's still a good girl. I spent an evening with her last night. It was fun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
me and my ex-wife and my two twins watched Barbie and Equalizer. We did a Barbalizer last night.
Now the Equalizer I'm hip to. But
Oh, Equalizer was pretty fucking good.
yeah.
Equalizer 3. Got to go see it. But you got to watch Barbie first to prep you. So we did hamburgers and Barbie, and then we did Equalizer, and that's the way you got to do it. I insist. Okay.
I am an Equalizer fan.
Yep.
So I
Okay.
saw an interesting concept in a video lately. It wasn't a serious video, but it presented an interesting idea. But these people are getting together with expiration dates planned out for their relationship, like contracts. Like, let's get together for exactly 1 year, and then we'll decide if we want to renegotiate an extension or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that viable? Is that realistic?
You want to run that by me again?
Where you get into relationships like it's a contract, and you say, okay,
Yeah.
let's have you negotiate for the terms and for how long it's going to last.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. Yeah, I mean, it should be a provisional sort of thing, and renew after 6 months. 6 months, you pretty much know the crazy comes out of the seams at about the 3-month point.
Mm-hmm.
The amazing thing is that when you, well, I don't know, this is just a total aside, but when you leave one relationship, you both advertise yourself as it being exactly the person that you are not in terms of all of your flaws. So because the last relationship you got into points out your flaws so well, what you will do when you meet somebody new is you will do everything you can to pretend that you do not have those flaws. And after 3 months, you forget to pretend. And then your flaws come forth.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're fucked, right? So I mean, like I would try to find women that really cared about science and math and intellect and all of that, and I would find these women that came out of relationships were basically the opposite was true of them, and they knew exactly how to tell me everything that I needed to hear in order to believe that they were really into it. And 3 months later, they forgot to keep pretending, and then the shit hit the fan.
Scott needs to be caught up. We got Stephen Meyer and Gallagher's estranged brother here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Talking about nonsense and citing people. I think like
The Big
Frank
Bang.
Turek. And then Leo came in, and Leo and Mike both said they were idiots.
Yeah, they.
And that catches you up pretty good. And then
Okay.
we were talking
Well, I
about.
appreciate-
Then
I
we talking
appreciate
about.
the rundown.
Yeah, we were talking about Bigfoot a little bit, of course, because
Yeah, before the Big Bang, it must have got to be God. Must have got to be.
Frank Turek. I believe in a Big Bang. I just know who the Big Banger was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
that's exactly what goes in my head.
Yeah, I was just getting blown away by Frank Turek's cleverness.
He's so clever. And the Stephen Meyer guy, he is like, he's somebody who's like really dumb who got a PhD, I think.
Yeah, he's trying to be like the creationist version of Neil deGrasse Tyson because he's all over the place. Even was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all
Pretty
that.
sure-
So,
I'm pretty sure he only became a Christian because his now wife was going to church, and I'm pretty sure that's his story. That he was going there because that's where the girls were. So.
well, it happens that way a lot.
How did Joe Rogan handle him?
Treated him seriously or whatever. I don't.
Too
didn't-
seriously, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see the whole interview or listen to the whole interview. Just kind of heard clips of it that people commented on. But,
Yeah, I think if Joe Rogan interviewed a cow pie, Joe Rogan would like be into cow pies.
yeah, and I think he did ask Stephen Meyer if he was into DMT or ayahuasca or anything.
Oh,
like
really?
that.
And what did Meyer say?
I think he said no.
Oh no.
But I could be misremembering that because he would ask the cow pie that.
Yeah.
Joe
Okay.
Rogan.
I'm gonna play a little bit more and see what happens here.
Is at the intersection of science and philosophy, or science and religion. The question of the origin of the universe was the
There ain't no fucking intersection.
first issue up. And the conference was divided, interestingly, between very elite scientists who were either theists or materialists. And they were debating, well, what does our best evidence about the origin of the universe or the origin of life imply as to which of these different, these two competing philosophical systems of thought is the better one to hold? Which one provides a better explanation or provides a better sense of coherence to the data?
So before he goes further,
And in the first
Yeah.
session,
You want
I
to
mean,
comment?
these are false dichotomies, right? This is a false way to set up the landscape. Originally, back in the Hebrew biblical era, the early Christian era, they were all what he would call materialists. Francesca Stavrokopoulou has a great book that talks about this called God and Anatomy. They had a very physical God, and he used his physical substance to create our world. So, and even the spirit itself, and you can't get further from the physical in the opinions of modern day Christians than the spirit of God, of the Holy Spirit. And originally, the spirit or pneuma was the breath of God. It was a very physical energy that went inside of our lungs, inside of our person, and gave us life. And it's also the same energy that is the wind that blows through the trees and blows
Yeah.
into the surface of the waters. And so this idea that he's putting forth of the supernatural stuff and physicalism versus supernatural spiritual truths, biblical era people didn't think that way at all.
Right.
And it's like, how could he not know the history of his own religion? It just boggles my mind.
Well, God created Adam in his own image. So, and God is a he.
Hmm.
So God had to have a dick.
But yeah, in fact, Stavrokopoulou talks about that, where if you go back to the actual source text of the stories, he had junk. He had junk. You would go before him in his throne, and his junk would be practically in your face.
Yep.
And it's just a thing. It's a way that they thought back then. It embodied the idea of being extra masculine, and they'd obsessed over God's penis. He had one, and it's just, even today, you can be a theist, some kind of personal God believer, and be a naturalist, a physicalist, right? You don't have to be a supernaturalist in order to believe in a personal God. So he's setting up all these false parameters for this landscape for one specific reason. It's because it facilitates his interest in a culture war. That's really what he's trying to win. Sorry, that's end of rant, but that's it.
Yep.
The wedge strategy.
Just say no to DMT, boys and girls.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Yeah. People that do DMT, they get the feeling that they're communicating with each other and they're all seeing the same beings and all sorts of stuff. And if it takes you that far out, you've gone too far.
Where no mind has gone before.
Besides, in order to get DMT to last a long time, you have to take some other drugs that make you want to shit yourself and throw up a lot. So, called ayahuasca. You don't want to do that shit. No DMT, children. Stay away.
Then you make the Florida Man channel.
Right. Stick with fucking psilocybin, god damn it, and LSD. Children. Well, no, the same for children. I just want to point that out. Okay. I had to say that. Let's see. Where is he?
the great
Dot, dot, dot.
American astrophysicist and astronomer Alan Sandage ascended to the podium and surprised many people in the audience by sitting down on the theistic side of the panel. And it turns out that he had been he was an agnostic Jew who was a well-known scientific materialist, fairly hard-bitten scientific materialist through much of his career. He had been Edwin Hubble's PhD student. He was a grad student of Hubble's. And he had been for a couple of decades involved in verifying the expansion of the universe in all quadrants of the night sky. And so in his talk, he gave a talk about the evidence for what we now call the Big Bang Theory and the evidence that the universe had a beginning, and reflected on that evidence rather poignantly, pointing out that the evidence we have for a beginning from multiple, and there are multiple lines of such evidence, suggested that the material universe itself had a beginning, before which there was no matter to do the causing. If matter itself comes into existence in finite time,
one thing there,
prior
the
material
Bible says,
self-contradictory.
Oh, shit.
And the
And
instead he
philosophical
said,
problem.
Shit,
what we're
I'm
looking at is
sorry.
that here is evidence for what can only
I fucked up. Hang on.
the Bible says the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. There was already something before
Yeah.
the creation. So this isn't even good theology.
Mm-mm. In fact, they were talking about the wind when they said that.
Yep.
Now,
So-
this alleged really famous astrophysicist or whatever,
Yep.
is that him, Alan Sandage?
Yep.
Did he become a young Earth creationist, or did he just become a theist?
He became a Christian, as it says. In 1959, he married Mary. It must have been Mary from Mary's Room. 1983, he announced he had become a Christian. Maybe he's the one that busted her out of her black and white room.
Could be.
And began to write essays on the subject of religion and science. And in 2010, he died. So in 1983, he became a Christian, and he was born in 1920. So at about in his 60s, he became a Christian. No big deal. Big whoop.
Yeah, but what kind of Christian did he become? I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he became a young Earth creationist.
No, it doesn't say he's a young.
So, and once again, these YEC people or intelligent design people, even then, well, and I guess not so much an intelligent design person, but is what's his face there? Does he believe in 14 billion year old universe or whatever, the 13 point something billion year old universe?
Why don't they mention all of the PhD scientists that became, or maybe all of the famous Christians that also happen to be fucking kid hunting? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to get data on that.
I mean, why don't they mention that? You know, they mention, oh, he's a physicist and he became a Christian. It's like, oh, he likes goats and he became a Christian. You know, he's a serial killer and he became a Christian. I don't know. I don't know why they lose their shit when they find a scientist who's also a Christian. A lot of scientists are Christians for the same dumb reasons they are. I'm sorry. So, I don't know. So what? Play?
That's been with us since the late Enlightenment has been the problem of knowledge. And it wasn't a problem during the period of the scientific revolution because the early scientists were almost to a person devout Christians. And they believed in the intelligibility of nature because they believed in the reliability of the mind, given that our minds had been created in the image of God, who had also created the rational order of the universe. So there was
And evolution says our minds are created by natural selection to understand our environments. So there is no fucking problem of knowledge like he's talking about. There is no problem of knowledge. We are a creature that evolved in a natural world to understand nature. I don't know. Anyway, comments.
And well, I was gonna say, he can sound like, oh yeah, the early religious people, they were just so scientific and everything, and it's like, really? For their day, yes, but almost everything they blamed on demons, and they had spells to take care of everything. That's not scientific.
Mandible's leaving us. I got to talk to Mandible. Me and him are gonna fight.
Well, what you guys gonna fight about?
He's a goddamn duelist.
Oh well, nobody's perfect.
Or a panpsycho. I forget what.
And everything Meyer and his group say is all post hoc. Anyway, they can never give a prediction from the Bible that says, "Oh yeah, this verse right here says cancer is going to be cured in 2050," or there's nothing like that. But if cancer is cured in 2050, then they'll find something in the Bible that says, "Aha, see." Right here, it says cancer will be cured in 2050. Told you, we knew it all along.
Yeah.
Muslims do that same thing.
Oh yeah.
If if you're having a child and you really want a little girl, and you get a boy, you should be able to rip his rib out. I mean, isn't that a prediction?
It depends on the translation because some say it was like ripping a chunk of flesh out of the side. It wasn't actually the rib itself. It was just grabbing a chunk out of the side because after creating the whole universe, it needed a blob of flesh to make one more person.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay. Summon Maynard.
And wasn't it Dr. Chris that was on here talking about the ribs that equal number of men and women have an oddball extra rib or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not true, but yeah, that's what people say.
Okay.
That's a myth.
I'm so weary. He'll explain. Oh, Mandible's going to explain his ontology. Goddamn duelist. Okay.
There'd be a principle of correspondence that the rationality that we have built into our minds is of such a kind that we can understand the rationality built into nature, the rationality in design and order. This is a point that the great Cambridge physicist Sir John Polkinghorne liked to make. He talked about the reason within matching the reason without out in the world. So yeah, the big crisis in philosophy, the whole postmodernist turn and all of that is really a crisis of knowledge, and theism is I think the one thing that resolves that nicely, and so many other things. It gives us an account of the existence of objective moral principles. What do we mean when we say ought? We mean something more than saying is. Well, what's implied by that ought statement? It implies it's the standard above us all to which we can appeal. Well, where does that standard come from? Theism gives.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, he
It's
knows
the
that
whole
that's not
morality thing. Atheists can't have a morality because we have no foundation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Plus, he doesn't realize everybody steals their morality from somewhere around them.
Stephanie, I did watch that Emerson Green on dualism and panpsychism, and it was very interesting. And I got a few things to say about this fucking dualist.
Yeah, I don't need to watch it to know it's wrong. That's what I want to say about it.
Yeah, Emerson Green is a very knowledgeable philosopher.
Sure.
But he's wrong.
Sure.
Well, I don't know if he's wrong because I think he's wrong in the right way. You just got to read in between the lines there with his pantheism. Let's see here. Okay, we got career. We're looking at John Polkinghorne Awards. Polkinghorne did a whole bunch of stuff. He suggests mechanistic explanations of the world that have continued from Laplace to Richard Dawkins should be replaced by an understanding that most of nature is cloud-like rather than clock-like. He regards mind, soul, and body as different aspects of the same underlying reality, so that's called dual aspect monism. So he's not a dualist. That's a good one for him. On the existence of God, the question of the existence of God is the single most important question we face about nature and reality. No, it ain't. Let me see. After all, there is no God. Then God is incalculably the greatest single creation of the human imagination.
Yeah, that's not
Come on.
true.
Not greatest, but
No.
The one he likes the best.
Well, it's the next in a progression. Like, okay, I've got a,
Well,
I've got a sea god, I've got a sky god, I've got a land god, and they're fighting each other. Okay, I've got a god in the forest making the trees shake, and every once in a while there's this god that sends lightning all over the place, and then you develop them into, when you develop kingdoms and monarchies and whatever, where your gods suddenly, seem to be divided up like that, and then we start making the gods more abstract, and boom, we have the Christian God. It's a progression. It's not the greatest single invention. It's just the next in a progression.
It's not even clever.
Yeah.
If you ask a 5-year-old about their dad, and you ask them about all the traits of their dad, He's the biggest possible. He's all the way the biggest. He's all the way the smartest. He's all the way the strongest. You just go down the list, and anything you ask them, he's all the way that, right? And they put their arms behind themselves to indicate the idea that, you know, you can't really show the size of it. It just goes on. And that's exactly what theists have done with their God. He's all the way everything. That's an easy answer. That's not clever.
Conan the Barbarian's my God is Crum. He sits on the mountain. And
Polkinghorn
the
is
thief says, my God is the four winds. He's above your God.
Polkinghorn is another believer. So anyway, I think the Barbie movie is the greatest creation of human imagination. Thus far.
What'd you
One
put
of
on
these
your
days, maybe I'll get to see it.
What'd you put on your hamburger?
I had mushrooms on my hamburger.
I bet.
I had some laying around in the fridge, and I just threw them on there, and suddenly the entire world turned pink.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was just fucking amazing. Anyway,
you never know. There's some bad movies I like, so who knows? But
yeah,
I'm not. I've got other movies to see in my queue before the Barbie one makes the lists.
I thought they did a really fucking good job of doing the whole Barbie verse thing, and I don't know. I loved it. I loved the whole fucking thing. I love the dance, the choreography. The inventor of Barbie, Ruth, comes out and has a talk with Barbie at the end that I think was very thoughtful and a lot of wisdom, and that was pretty.
Did it change your gender and sexuality?
Mine?
Yeah.
It could. I don't know. I'm gonna go buy some Barbies. I don't know. But
My grandson got some off-brand GI Joes for his birthday this year. Man, I had a great time playing with them. I don't know about him, but it just reminded me of the days when we would take all those little tiny plastic soldiers and then get the GI Joes and just stomp them with the GI Joes, stomp the soldiers.
Oh,
yeah. It was fun.
We used firecrackers for landmines and blew them army men all over the place. And
there's a whole bunch of little girls that I encountered in my youth that used to do really horrible things to their dolls, and the Barbie movie handled that whole thing with just like they made it sound so nice that if you play with your Barbie too hard, you end up.
My brother destroyed his GI Joes. I still have a couple of mine, so there you go. His flew through the air a lot more. They got his GI Joes got on the losing end of things, let's say. And they were always flying through the air. Then
was he like Sid from Toy Story?
They were battle wearied.
About 30% of little kids that run into Barbie, their first thought is, what would happen if we decapitated Barbie?
Oh, and the Lee Majors page gave me a thumbs up. I don't know if it's the man himself or not, but somebody gave me a thumbs up on he was holding his doll that came in a spaceship.
Okay.
And I was like, I still have mine. I said it in the comments, and I got one of the few thumbs on the thread. So I'm like, huh. So, but yeah, I still have my Steve Austin too. It came in a rocket, and then when you take the rocket, and the rocket would fold open, and it would turn into the operating table, and you could.
I had that exact toy.
Yeah, I still have mine.
Nice.
It's in a little rough shape because we played with it. It wasn't a collector's item, but my mother had it in a box, and when she passed away, I found it in a box. So so I have it. Yep. I have a Fonzie too.
Wow, nice. So my oldest toys were that and my Stretch Armstrong.
Oh yeah, Stretch Armstrong was great. They never lasted very long. The commercials showed them to be indestructible, but we found out otherwise.
Yeah, they weren't. She had a Stretch Armstrong and then the monster one that was like transparent. I had that one too.
Oh, them poor action figures.
Yeah.
The best one I ever had was the Evel Knievel motorcycle, with the wind-up deal.
Oh, I had that too.
That thing, I beat the crap out of that thing. All the little things were broken off of it, you know, all the little plastic giz whizzes and everything. And
Yeah.
but man, that thing kept working and working and working until the winder broke. The winder actually, you know how you kind of had to lean on it, you know, when you cranked it. And yeah, I was leaning on it, and it just kind of all went into, and that was the end of that. But that dang little motorcycle, that was a tough toy. I got to give it to him. That was a tough toy.
I'm looking for something. Oh, let's see here. Stephanie Helms has an IMDb page.
Yeah, there's the link to it for if you want to put in the description. Somebody needs to add her picture to it. I don't know who gets to do that.
Self, the Transatlantic Cullen Show, that one?
Yeah, she was a guest on there at one point.
She was on. I think she was on earlier too, on talking about politics. She was on.
Yeah, that's part of Jimmy
on
Snow's network, right? That's what they
I think
do.
she was on The Edge or something earlier.
Oh, I'll put that in the description.
She busy.
Busy.
She busy.
Yeah, I was tuning in to Stephanie when she, especially
I'm
with Stephanie rant.
I'm catching up with you, Stephanie.
I like Stephanie rants.
I broke 200 subs, so I'm
Nice.
catching up with Stephanie.
Congratulations, Dave.
Thank you. It's kind of cool.
It is.
I was doing the Leah interview, and a certain friend of mine that's unnamed. Oh, I'll name him. James said, "Hey, Dave's close to 200," and much appreciated. Some people went clickety click, and it went over 200. So
Nice.
appreciate it, James, as always.
Yeah.
It's nothing like a good friendly clickety click.
Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is somebody in the chat to say, "Hey, like and subscribe."
Well, does Mark Reed help put you over that?
Ember gave me the biggest bump I've ever had.
Really?
I picked up 6, 7, 8 subs, something like that. When Ember mentioned me, that was it's one of my biggest bumps. And then we made sure that Ember covered Mike too, because Ember missed Mike. And
Yeah.
so Ember came back around and covered Mike and lots of folks. So that was really cool.
Cool.
That reminds me of how Ray Comfort, when he did that hit piece on Christy Burke, she actually picked up a whole bunch of subs and sold some merch because of it.
Yeah, she made her own banana T-shirt.
Yeah, I saw it. That's great. That's how you do it.
Christy Burke is pretty awesome. I don't know.
Yeah, if you go and start shedding a tear, you know, then he wins. You know, that's what he wanted to do. So take it away from him.
I was listening to something today. It was somebody that was in Cults to Consciousness, and he was raised by, was it Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons? I can't remember what it was, but holy shit, they had little kids working at 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They would take them to the office and have them sweep and do the garbage and stuff like that when they were 4.
Yeah.
And she was 7, and she was in charge of rejecting people's bank transactions when she was 7 years old.
Wow.
And like, it kind of reminds me when I call Comcast.
Wow.
Customers.
Yeah, Bree, when Ember was doing Meet the YouTube Neighbors series, that's when he was getting everybody shout outs. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Hiveside was in there too.
Quite small. You ought to have thousands and thousands of subs. I don't understand. I thought you did, but I guess not.
Yeah, Ember's all right. Ember's another one that's big. Even though you see Ember's on the road and doing the breathing and getting the breathing machine because and doing the sleep test and all that stuff in a hotel, and there's Ember popping up the laptop and doing a stream anyways.
Really?
You gotta give it to him. You know?
Yeah, he works his ass off on his channel. And
Yeah.
He's all over the place, everywhere. Pretty good. Pretty cool. Well, I don't know if there's anything else in this video that I care about. What do you think?
Stephen Meyer needs a new haircut because it's really bugging me.
he needs to cut it real low, like right around the neckline.
You get a bowl cut.
That's what he's got. That's what I mean. He's been sporting that bowl cut for too long. It needs to. Even my dad, may he rest in peace, who had a comb over since he was like 20, and I'm not making fun of anybody that's and it was hard on him. And especially when you're young, and he did that comb over, and then finally one day he finally got a haircut, lost the comb over, and he looked so good. He wasn't. He didn't look better with the comb over. He just did. I know it hurt his pride and everything, but he looked so good when he finally got a nice short little haircut, and just got a little sun on top there, so it matched everything else, and he looked good.
Nice.
Yeah, I started going bald at 24.
Wow.
And by the time I was 30, I was bald and still had long hair. It took me a long time to cut it a little bit, but
well, that's talking to about Gallagher's brother. That was a big part of Gallagher's bit. And whenever he made the God jokes, it's like, whose sense of humor was this? And he'd pull his hat off.
yeah.
I'm only back in the day. I'm only 30 years old or whatever. Yesterday I had hair, and what happened?
Right.
This ain't funny.
Yeah.
Well, now with male pattern baldness, they can prevent that. I mean, you got to take that Rogaine like every day religiously, but you can prevent it from happening. It's the testosterone does something in the hair follicles. So they neutralize that process.
Yeah, and if you have a 1,000 horsepower brain, it also burns it off.
Is hair loss part of the curse, or is God also a little thin on top?
The Bible doesn't really say, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who will confidently tell you the answer to that question.
Yeah.
I was on minoxidil years ago. My son was just a toddler, I think, for my blood pressure. Apparently, back in the 70s or whatever, they formulated it for treating blood pressure, but it turned out to be a better hair growth thing. But the doctor, because he was frustrated he couldn't find me the right medicine to get my blood pressure under control, put me on Viagra. And I started growing all this hair everywhere. And I didn't know why until he told me, oh, this is the stuff they put in Rogaine. And I went, oh my gosh. Because I had hair like hobbits on the top of my feet, on the top of my toes, just kind of getting all bushy.
That's what that guy was working on, was trying to cure hair. Yeah,
my kneecaps and everything. And then and then it started causing me to get basically congestive heart failure. It caused fluid buildup around my lungs and my heart.
Holy shit.
And I ended up getting pneumonia, and I spent 5 or 6 days in the hospital. That doctor was an idiot. But at any rate, and it grows hair. It's a very successful hair grower, but I didn't need any extra hair. Was the only problem.
Yeah.
They were trying to get hair to grow, and something else grew. And Viagra was born.
That's true.
Oh, let's see.
It worked just on the wrong end of the body.
Yeah.
Yep. What the fuck? Anyway, don't mind me.
It did get my blood pressure way down. I have to give him that. But it had a couple of other very unwanted side effects.
Well, that's like I've had my sister-in-law was having trouble getting pregnant, so they put her on the pill. And you're like, why are you going to put somebody on birth control when they're trying to get pregnant? But they wanted to get the system regular, and then it kicked the system going into regular cycles because there was something wrong with her cycles, wasn't getting pregnant. So she took the pill and then went off the pill and got pregnant. So it's like, how things are is pretty interesting,
I think
and that's why you should check with your doctor before you take medications.
I think that's how my twins happened. They were kind of a surprise.
Both my boys were on birth control, so I beat the odds twice.
I remember we had the pregnancy test sitting on the fireplace, and both me and my ex were sitting there looking at it with our mouths hanging open, like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" And then about 3 months later, when the doctor did the ultrasound, they said, "Has anybody told you? There's 2 of them." I'm like, what the fuck?
With my first son, it was a happy, oh boy, we were young and and hey, and with my second, it was like 12 years later, and I got the "I need you to sit down and talk to you" thing, and that's usually like when you get the bad news, you know what I mean? And sat down at the kitchen table, and she's like, "Listen, I took a pregnancy test, and I didn't have my period," and it's like, and that one was like, okay, because we thought it was just the 3 of us, and that's how it was going to be,
Yeah.
But not that I don't love my boys or anything, but yeah, they we didn't try, and we've got 2, and the brother-in-law, sister-in-law on both sides of us, hers and mine, both had to go to the doctor to get pregnant. So it explain that,
Wow.
Yep.
Did y'all hear about this is a total direction change here, but Sarah
Bigfoot?
Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas, is embroiled in this this controversy, this scandal, where she basically tried to squeeze $19,000 of tax money, taxpayer money, out of the state of Arkansas to fund a trip to Paris that she took with some friends. And what they did was, a friend of hers, or they may have actually developed this quote unquote business for this purpose, but it was an events planning management kind of business. And so what they did was they had that business create an invoice for a lectern for the amount of $19,000.
Oh, is that where the lectern came from?
Yeah, and that's that. And they listed it as a model that only cost $7,500. But and I kind of just got this from one report, so I don't know if it's been verified. But apparently, the actual lectern isn't even that model or brand. It's a fake, so it's probably even costs even less than the $7,500.
Oh shit!
So that was their way of, getting taxpayer money. Basically committing fraud, and basically committing a. I'm using the word basically a lot. Committing just your general fraud, a crime, and it looks like the Arkansas GOP tried to have somebody alter the record, the copy of that invoice,
Oh my god!
putting a note saying reimburse by GOP or whatever on it, without dating it or signing it, or just kind of writing it on top of there, and to make it look more legit. In other words, you can say, okay, that we didn't handle the record keeping very well, but it was obviously a reimbursement for a lectern from the GOP committee, which I'm sure there's actually a paperwork trail that such donations have to go through anyway. But but yeah, she's in trouble, and so in order to get attention off of that, she started doing these executive orders banning the use of certain woke words.
Yeah, she's up. I was going to say she's banning words.
Yeah, and
Wow. No, that's not fascist at all.
no, let's use fascism to
words.
cover up my my decadent living in Paris.
Yeah, and she had a bunch of bobbleheads behind her going, "Yeah, you get them. You ban those words." They're standing behind her, nodding their heads and everything, and they're all just, "Yeah, we're banning your words." It's like, gee whiz.
She also tried to pass something that would make it essentially illegal, or just something that they're not supposed to do, letting the letting the FOIA requests, not doing them for billing or something like that, which was exactly what that FOIA request was, that uncovered the thing. So the guy who did the FOIA request to uncover the corruption by that new law would not be able to do a FOIA request to uncover that corruption. So,
She's hard at work for herself
yeah.
and not the people of Arkansas.
He does have a Village People vibe.
All I get's Gallagher. I just
Yep.
maybe I'm a Gallagher fan. I actually saw Gallagher live, so and yes, I know Gallagher said some controversial things. I'm well aware of it, and I don't agree with some of the stupid things.
I remember when he was just the
But-
hottest thing. He was in every city every week.
He put his foot in his mouth too.
Yeah, he did when he was older. He did make some questionable jokes, and I'm not excusing anything, but there was a time that certain jokes were made about gay people and stuff, and
Homophobic. and
those
racist.
that's not fashionable anymore, and people have grown past it. But
It was
he
fashionable.
was in that time to
Yeah.
make jokes, and but I'm not holding him against that. What he said when he got older, he was, I don't know, it sounded like he was angry old man, and
Did he
didn't like them gay people. So, I don't know.
Did he die?
He died, yes, a couple years back or so.
Well, that's
yeah.
what you get.
He had like 3-4 heart attacks, man. I mean, you can only have so many.
organ
That's
failure.
that's why he had to retire, because he had like his second or third heart attack. He worked so hard and traveled so hard and everything. He kept giving himself heart attacks from all the stress.
God, my nephew just had a mild heart attack. He's 42 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, that sucks.
My dad was that old when he died from his first and last heart attack.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring the mood down.
He's the same age as my son's, my nephew, John.
Well, some stupid things aside, though, Gallagher had some great bits. I love the bit about the things I learned in shul. Those bits were just great.
Yeah.
And the smashing the watermelon with Sledge-O-Matic was just such a great bit that just blew him up big time.
Yeah. He was 76. Oh my goodness, I'm almost there. I'm gonna die.
And that's good, because he started having heart attacks when he was young. So he managed, thanks modern medicine, kept him alive probably about twice as long as he would have otherwise. So.
Wow.
Okay, I think I want to shoot her in the head.
That sounds good, guys.
Yep, I think
It was fun hanging out with you tonight. And for everybody else that was here, thank you.
Yeah, and
I needed a break. I was busy editing, and Mike's got a stream, and then we're gonna have some hot dogs with some Paco's sauce on, and so I need a break. So
these two are low-hanging fruit. So Myers and whoever the hell this Daily Dose guy is. But anyway, good to stomp on the low-hanging fruit once in a while.
Yeah.
Makes good jam.
and everybody
the
make
best
a
they
note.
have is low hanging. That's the sad thing.
Make a note. Wednesday is our Halloween show, so
Okay.
Trees and I are doing a Halloween show on Wednesday the 25th, and Trees' sibling is going to be joining us as a guest. So
And you're looking for UFOs yet, right?
I got an update. I got a filter that helps with low light for in the city,
Okay.
and I jacked my up to I had a 2 or a 3 by Barlow lens. I went up to a 5 by, and I got some better software that's got a zoom and a focus on it for the camera too. So all I need is a clear night, and we're going to have full moon next week and a couple nice days. It's actually going to be 70s here. So fingers crossed, if it holds into the evening, I just may have a telescope stream. I'm ready to go. The telescope's all set up. It's sitting right inside the garage door. All I can do is open the garage door. It's ready to go. So
Cool. I want to see some UFOs happening as a result of our playing with the supernatural.
yep. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I just, of course, this time of year is kind of, you get cloudy weather in Ohio this time of year. So
Yep.
yeah, but
Okay,
if
guys.
nothing else, once it gets cold out, it'll clear up again. So I'll have to put a big jacket on, but you can do it in the cold weather too. So one way or another, there will be a telescope stream. If nothing else, I'm gonna get this book of spells out, and I'm gonna do a clear weather spell because I need a clear night. I'm itching to do it. So
I think if you'll be doing this spell, and then somewhere way out in outer space, light years away, a traveling alien in a ship will feel this sudden, uncontrollable tug on its ship to bring it hurtling towards Earth.
it's supposed to have my number because I was playing around with this stuff. So
Yep.
they just got to show up. So I'm eagerly awaiting.
Physicist said so, right? He was a physicist. That guy.
Hugh Ross is a physicist and an astronomer.
But he ought to know. So we got to listen.
He's got to know. That's right. And he says if it don't work, that I can get a hold of him and let him know so. So
We got to let
we're
him.
gonna hold him to it. I don't see anything in that telescope. Let me tell you. Oh, and of course, and again, we've got the meteor shower going on right now too, and it's cloudy out. So
Yeah.
Prime time.
yeah,
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
have a good one.
Good night, everybody.
Goodbye, cruel world.